Hello and welcome to NerdVsWorld episode 82, Nerd Walk With Me. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Spindles.
And on today's episode, it is our long-awaited season finale roundup. We'll be going through all the shows that we watched, some of the ones that we gave up on, and some Netflix originals, and talking about those. There's also a little mini review of the Chris Evans movie Gifted, which I caught a couple of weeks back, and
a few kind of whole seasons. So I've watched like the whole season of Travellers on Netflix and a bunch of other stuff. And then I want to talk a lot about Twin Peaks.
Yep, absolutely. And then there's the Star Wars issues with Ron Howard replacing Lord and Miller as director of the Han Solo spin-off.
Lots of juicy goodness.
So, where shall we start then, dude?
Well, we'll start with the wrap-up of season finales, you know. Okay. It's that time of year. All of the kind of fall season stuff has finished. And we're into summer seasons of shows now, which, you know, Dark Matter's back. A couple of other shows are back. I think Killjoys is back next week. And then, of course, Game of Thrones is back in a couple of weeks' time as well. We're, you know, and the Duller's Dishwater, Fear the Walking Dead is also back.
Yeah, we can miss that one, that's fine.
Well, you see, I think I've downloaded the first 6 episodes and I haven't watched a single one yet. That tells you how excited I am about that show.
Fair enough. That's all you need to know.
Okay, so season finales of stuff. Where should we kick off?
Well, we'll start alphabetically and then go horribly wrong. American Gods?
Okay, American Gods. My God, what a first season.
Oh, that was incredible. I mean, like, I'm a bit gutted we haven't got to the carousel yet. I thought that would have been in this season.
Well, we got we got an establishing shot of the house on the rock.
On the rock, yeah, we did.
So, you know, we're getting there. But you know what? I think I like how it's taken its time over explaining some of the stuff a bit more than it did in the books. It's taken a bit longer over Laura's backstory, a bit longer over some other bits and bobs. You know, the guy with the gin who came back, I wasn't expecting to see him again. And we got Mad Sweeney's story, and of course the story of how Mad Sweeney came to the States.
Yeah, I think it's been incredible, and I loved the finale. I loved the standoff between the old and the new.
Yeah,
I love Kristen Chenoweth. I think she's awesome. I've loved her since she was in The West Wing, and she was in Wicked as well.
Neither of which I've seen, I'm afraid.
Well, Wicked's the obviously the musical stage show.
Yeah.
And you've never seen The West Wing?
No. I think I've watched like one episode of it, and then I've just never. It was never one that gripped me. I'm not a huge fan of kind of American political drama. So Emma watches House of Cards and stuff, but it doesn't really grab me.
Oh man, it's Aaron Sorkin writing at his best.
Right. Okay. Well, because he's the guy for Curb Your Enthusiasm. Is that him, Aaron Sorkin?
Was it? Was he Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I
know him from SportsCenter and The Newsroom and The West Wing, but that's it.
Okay, well...
Social Network, he wrote that, I think, too.
I may be completely wrong. It may just be one of those names that's kind of stuck in my brain as you know, he wrote tons of stuff.
Fair. But yeah, no, it's a great series, man. You should watch it. Martin Sheen is a president that I would vote for. Okay,
interesting.
Yeah. But it's definitely showing its age a little bit in terms of its political idealism.
Okay.
But worth a watch. But yeah, anyway, she was in that for a season. I loved her in that, and I loved her as Easter in American Gods.
Yes.
Just the title back up.
It was, an excellent character, and you know, an interesting twist again on the events from the book.
Yeah.
But I think Gillian Anderson as Media is nailing it as far as I'm concerned.
To be honest, everyone is perfectly cast in that show.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I want more Peter Stormare. You know, he should be in it a hell of a lot more than he is as Chernabog.
I'm crying out for Chernabog.
Yeah.
I'm even coming around to Ricky Whittle as Shadow. Like, that was the one casting decision, obviously pre-series, that I wasn't entirely sold on.
Yeah, no,
but
again,
now
having watched The 100, I wasn't greatly enthused.
Having watched Hollyoaks, I wasn't greatly enthused.
Well, yeah, but I think, if you say that, then you kind of say, oh, Charlie Hunnam, when he was in Queer as Folk.
or Biker Grove.
Yeah, or Biker Grove, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you've got to kind of give them a chance who've gone over to America and kind of tried something new.
Yeah. God bless him. He's doing all right, isn't he?
Yeah, indeed. Apart from that god-awful Arthur film, but we won't talk about that. Both hands! David Beckham. Sorry.
No, I've missed the reference on that one, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a new King Arthur film that has...
Oh, shit, yes.
Charlie Hunnam, yes, and has David Beckham in it. In his first acting, speaking role in a film.
No.
Yeah, and he's atrocious.
Well, of course he is.
I
genuinely have a lot of time for David Beckham for a lot of the charity work and stuff he does, and I think he is very well-meaning, but as an actor, no thanks.
No, well, just generally as somebody who speaks.
Yeah.
He looks great and he does a ton of great stuff, but just don't open your mouth, David, ever.
Same goes for your wife.
Yeah, that's fair.
Don't let us sing. Cool. So American Gods. This first season's been a barnstorming success as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely, utterly amazing. The visuals on it, the sound on it, the casting. It is literally perfect.
Yeah. Flawless. Can't fault it. Right, moving on. Trying to stay alphabetical, I guess. Arrow,
again, it's one of those ones that I kind of lost interest a bit in the mid-season, and then it picked up quite a lot towards the end, actually, and I really enjoyed the finale, and we've been left on a massive cliffhanger of, is everyone dead?
Well, the thing is, this is one of the shows that I gave up on this series. I stopped watching it about episode 15, I think.
Okay.
And I just never got back around to it. There's been a few shows this year that have done that, and I've meant to sit down and catch up, but I just can't face the prospect of slogging through another 7-8 hours of Arrow.
Okay.
And I think,
to be honest, the finale is worth it because you get a lot of payoff in a lot of the relationships between the characters. You get reappearances of old characters, and you finally get to the end of the fucking flashbacks.
Fair. It's worth staying with it just for that, then, I suppose.
So it's like, you know what? I have no idea what they're going to do next season. They're going to have like a whole extra half an episode for actual plot instead of fucking flashbacks.
No, they have said they'll start exploring flashbacks for other characters, and they'll start exploring the idea of flashing sideways as well. It'll do kind of a Lost type of thing.
No, don't do that. No, that's so wrong.
I'm kind of if I was to stick with it.
You say you're kind of alright with it, you've already given the fuck up.
Yeah. If I was... I corrected myself to... If I was to stick with it, I could see a good narrative point for giving other characters flashbacks in a development sort of way, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, I will, at some point over the next few months, catch up with these shows, so we'll have the time. But the fact that I let it slip and just couldn't be enthused to catch up says quite a bit, I think, about where this season dipped quite tragically in the middle.
Yeah, no, and it totally did. I think it lost its way a bit this season. It certainly lost my attention. In all fairness, a lot of the Arrowverse did, and pretty much the only one that held my attention until the very end was Legends of Tomorrow.
Really?
Which, in all fairness, was the one I was giving the most amount of shit from the beginning.
Yeah, it's one that I never bothered with.
You see, I'm really enjoying that. I think it's great. I think, Arthur Darvill kind of went off and went back to do Broadchurch and stuff, so White Canary stepped up to be the captain, and then there was a lot of interesting interplay between the characters, and I think it got a hell of a lot better, whereas I think Flash stayed being its kind of cheesy teenage thing. Supergirl, again, stayed on the same kind of level, crossing over a little bit. The musical episode was interesting. Arrow just got a bit dull and a bit too dark.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So yeah, that's my kind of DC TV universe in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched Flash or Supergirl or Legends.
In all fairness, I think pretty much every series, a lot of the big series that we watch, they've all pretty much cleaned house or have the potential to clean house at the end of this season. And most of the ones on the CW, I think, have just pretty much cleaned house, because the Flash ends at the point where you're like, well, okay, so is Grant Gustin actually back next season? It leaves it on that much of a note that you're like, wow, okay, so I can see the next season actually happening without him.
Really?
Yeah, totally. And Supergirl, they've cleaned house with a whole bunch of the other characters with the way they ended that season. Arrow has ended up on a massive explosion on the island, in which the only person we know is actually safe is Oliver.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
So I think pretty much all of the DC TV stuff has left us on a massive cliffhanger where potentially they could change the entire cast coming back next season.
Okay, well, that could be interesting.
It could be. I mean, it could kind of give it that shot in the arm that I think it needs. I mean, much as they're doing amazingly and they've pulled off some absolutely pitch-perfect episodes this season, I think that some of the shows have been kind of floundering a little. Arrow is one of them.
Yeah.
The others have been kind of just let down by not progressing as much as they could have. But I think they've opened it up to now kind of have a completely clean slate to start working with next season, especially with the introduction of Black Lightning next season.
Yeah, I've missed that introduction.
Well, it's a completely new show.
Oh, I've missed the announcement for this.
Yeah. It's called Black Lightning. It's a completely new superhero show joining into the DC CW universe.
I thought they weren't doing anymore. I thought they...
Yeah. Well, they are doing at least one more.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it last show, but not overly. So yeah, it's called Black Lightning.
Okay. I'll see how that pans out. Next show then.
Well, if we're sticking with alphabetical, then it's worth mentioning, purely for the fact that I haven't watched any of it, and that's Blind Spot.
Okay, yeah.
Do you remember Blind Spot?
I vaguely remember quitting this show sometime in its first season.
Yeah, me too. I think I was around episode 18, 19 of the first season. I gave up, and it's had a whole second season, and I've not watched any of it.
I think I got as far as episode 5. And then walked away from that. We've already failed at the alphabetical thing, by the way, because Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. should have been in the A section.
Well, no, because that comes under M.
Really?
It does come under M. All of them do. If you actually search for them, then they all have to be Marvel's Luke Cage, Marvel's Jessica Jones. They all begin with M.
Fair enough.
And the only reason I know that is because I have to make sure everything is tagged correctly when I rip it off the internet. Oh, sorry, download it legally.
Fair enough. Okay, that's a workaround that I enjoy. Fair enough, that's cool. Next show then. And I'm struggling to keep it alphabetical, I think.
That's fine. Well, just shout out names.
Okay, Elementary.
Elementary, loved it. Excellent end to the series.
Yep. I mean, that twist was kind of obvious.
Oh, God, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. This was one of the shows that was on the bubble for renewal. And I haven't heard for definite whether it's actually been picked up again for next season.
As far as I'm aware, it has.
Yeah? Okay,
yeah.
Probably a fairly recent thing.
I will double check over the course of this episode, but I'm fairly sure it has.
Yeah. If it hasn't, then whilst it was a good season finale, it wasn't a fitting series climax.
Yeah, Elementary renewed for season 6.
Awesome. I know last time I checked it was on the bubble still. So brilliant. In that case then, next season we have to work out how Sherlock gets over this non-drug induced hallucination that seems to be a fairly potent part of his psyche.
Yeah, indeed.
And taking on the form of his mother. So there's definitely issues to be resolved there, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, I love the fact that you're still watching Elementary because I knew it was one of those shows you gave up on in season 1.
Well, no, it wasn't that. It was one of those shows that I refused to watch on principle because it was an Americanization of the Sherlock Holmes story.
Yes.
And then I watched the first episode, and I think possibly after the second episode, I think I was hooked. And I think there's probably evidence on a podcast many, many years ago.
I think we're going back a good 4 years here where I was like, no, stick with it, dude.
Yeah, where I told you that you were right all along.
Yeah, see, that's the mantra that I like to hear. I was right all along.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to get printed on my t-shirt. There's going to be a little caricature Spindles saying, I was right all along.
Fair enough. Yeah, you deserve it, mate. But yeah, it's very, very good. I'm really enjoying it. And I can't wait to see what happens next. I didn't think it was a particularly strong series.
No, I mean, I thought it explored the kind of all the addiction stuff quite well this season.
And I did like
the kind of the slide into crime and how easy it is to get sucked into all of that. I thought it was some interesting plot developments over the course of the season.
And
it was lovely to see the guy from True Blood. Yeah.
The gang war subplot.
Yeah.
That was interesting throughout.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Cool. E, F. Any Fs?
Any Fs? Flash forward. No. That was a flashback.
We got Flash, obviously.
We have got the Flash, but yeah, so I've already spoken about that. It is great. It's ended on a cliffhanger. I mean, obviously, I have the same problems with Flash that I've always had, which is as the series keep going on, every man and his fucking dog ends up with the Flash, the Speed Force. And it's like, yeah, oh, and there's another Flash, and another, and another, and another. Oh, look, and another. So, I'm hoping next season they'll try and have like bad guys and other characters that don't have the Speed Force. That'd be great.
Fair. It's a fair point. I mean, how many different Flashes are there in there now?
There's like 5. So there's at least 2 different versions of Barry Allen. There's Kid Flash. There's the chick from Earth 2. There's Savitar. Oh, hang on. So, actually, yeah, okay. Well, I can't give away too many spoilers, but yeah, there is Savitar, but then there was also what was he called? Zoom. So that's like 6. Then there's Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne, which is 7. I think I'll stick at 7 for now.
That's enough, though.
Yeah, 7 people with the Speed Force that are all speedsters. Yeah, it's a bit much for a show called The Flash.
Yeah. The Flash is
indeed. Yeah.
Would be more accurate, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, then on to G for Gotham.
I haven't watched any of this season at all, dude. This is all you.
Now, again, this is another show that I've had a rocky relationship with this show. I gave up on the first season partway through.
Yep, me too.
Came back for the Joker episode and then swore I'd never watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
Then I watched the first episode of season 2 because I was bored and loved it, and I was hooked. And then this season has gone back to season 1 for me. I've just given up on it. So I think I lasted maybe 7 or 8 episodes, certainly until Poison Ivy turned up.
Right.
As the aged Poison Ivy rather than the young Poison Ivy. But then, it became one of those shows which, with everything else that was happening and all the other things that we were doing with the show, that it kind of fell off my schedule, my regular schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I'm still getting it every week, and I have been ever since it first started. But I think, again, like you, I lost it in season 1, and then you kind of had me almost convinced to come back for season 2, and I think we watched a couple of episodes.
Season 2, Rise of the Villains, was really, really good. And I was sad when they got rid of the Joker. I mean, they brought him back.
Yeah.
And there's some. It's a good show. and it works when it works. But when they get it wrong really badly. But yeah, it's just one that when I look at all the things I have to watch for this for the podcast, it's like, well, I'd rather be watching these things instead of this, so we can talk about this.
Indeed, it's fairly low down the list, and you know, one rainy day I'll sit and binge watch the shit out of it. But at the moment, it's not very high on my list at all.
And to be honest, I think that's a fair assessment of the quality of shows. Like I would use that as a benchmark for people. Like we watch so much television and talk about so much television on this podcast that if we start to waver on a show or give up on a show, then you know it probably does speak to that show's quality. Yeah,
absolutely. And you know, I think it doesn't necessarily mean that we won't finish watching it. I just think it means that it's not holding that immediacy for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's a worthy distinction, to be fair. But yeah, so Gotham, move past that. JKLM.
It's got to be The Leftovers is back.
Oh, that's one for you.
Does anyone care? Well, no, because I still haven't finished watching season 2, and this is again it's come back for a final season to wrap it all up. It's one of those shows that was an interesting idea, and season 1 was really cool. Season 2 started out, and it all went a bit weird, and then I kind of lost interest. And they moved it to a different town, and they only kept some of the main characters, so they kind of soft rebooted it a bit for season 2, and then now season 3's back and they're finishing it off. And again, it's another one of those that I will sit and I'll watch the whole thing one day, and it will probably be one of those shows that I'm like, oh, actually that's quite a good idea by the end of it, but it's not holding my interest week to week.
That's fair enough. That brings us to M then, I suppose. And Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that was a corker of a season finale, in my opinion.
It was. Now, this season is one that it lost me, then it brought me back in. I loved the Ghost Rider stuff at the start. I thought that was great. Yeah.
Meandered a bit with the life model decoy stuff.
It did. I wasn't a massive fan of the LMD section, mainly because there's an awful lot of tropes and cliches that come along with body swap dramas, and I was worried that it would fall into most of them, and it kind of did. And like, I find that kind of tedious. If you go, well, okay, there's not very many things they can do with a body swap storyline, so I'm going to see old stories get retrod here, and if they bored me the first time around, they bore me the second time around.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the issue. I mean, again, it fell off my watch list for a while, and then I came back to it just to finish it off, because I feel like I've championed the show quite a bit.
I think we have as a show. You know, after its kind of disappointing opening run in season 1, and then we were very much like, you know what? Actually, it really picks up.
Yeah, it does.
And it has turned into a very, very interesting show that stands pretty much apart from everything else, because it's not part of the Marvel TV universe, it's not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's just kind of stuck in this weird limbo.
Yeah. But I thought when they get it right, it's such a good show, and the finale for this season was great. And obviously Coulson waking up on a spaceship is just fucking awesome, but that wasn't the thing for me in the finale. The thing for me in the finale was when Yo-Yo went back into the framework to get Mac, and Mac and Yo-Yo and Mac's daughter were in that apartment where everything was disappearing, and then all of a sudden, without it being shown on screen, it's just a quick pull away to Yo-Yo. She's looking at Mac, and it's a shoulder up shot, and as a viewer you just know that the daughter has gone, but they don't reveal it. It's just in you just know it's there. And the acting, those two actors, I'm fairly easy to move to tears if I'm really invested in the show, And that scene completely pushed me over the edge. I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I've thoroughly enjoyed the fact of this season has explored the kind of what it means to be human question.
Yeah.
And I think it's done it in much better ways than a lot of TV and film has ever approached the topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't your standard AI tropes. It was, these are real people with real memories, and it's it kind of brings in that whole version of Marvel's What If, because that's what the framework was. It was essentially a bunch of What If comics.
Yeah, it was essentially a different Marvel universe. But yeah, the what it is to be human was a theme throughout. We said before, though, that comics do handle that sort of thing really well.
Yeah.
It's nice that a comic-inspired TV show has started to show the same thematic awareness, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it was wonderful that it showed the fact of when a machine becomes more human, and it approached it from that angle. So it was the oblique angle to how most things tackle it, because most things are about making a machine and then a machine taking over humanity and us defeating machines and stuff like that, whereas this was about a machine who achieved the goal of becoming human and found it too much to handle.
Yeah. Like, just, that the pure rawness of feeling new emotions.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
And I thought it tackled that really well. I mean, it's second only to Data and his emotion chip in Star Trek, I thought.
Yeah, it's totally fair. I mean, I don't disagree with that at all. I thought it was great. And of course, there's a new teaser trailer coming out soon for Marvel's Inhumans, which will be another spin-off from this show.
Indeed.
Well, I say spin-off. It'll be a new Marvel continuity. Next then, anything in N?
Well, of course, all of the NCISs.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So again, I'm not going to go into them in great detail, but it's safe to say that NCIS, all of its offshoots, are still going from strength to strength. NCIS LA has now hit season 8. NCIS Mainstream has just finished season 13. NCIS New Orleans has just finished season 2. So, and each one of them is brilliant in its own way. They've had some interesting crossovers, and I can't wait to see more. It's just one of those franchises that can do no wrong, in my opinion.
Fair enough. I mean, it's not a franchise that I've ever really delved too deeply into, if I'm honest with you.
I absolutely love it, and it's because of the characters. I mean, you only have to look at the interview that we did with Deeks and Kenzie at
MCM London.
MCM London this year to see just how that comes across, because those two just personify those characters on screen, and they're brilliant.
The interview is awesome. I loved it. I mean, I would watch it just for those two characters. Exactly,
and that is the heart of NCIS, certainly of NCIS LA. Those two characters are the heart of it.
Okay.
And I think it's one of those shows that I think could actually benefit from not having it two leads. So the I can't even remember their names now. It's G, Callan, and Sam. The characters' names, but I can't remember their names. Chris something, the guy who was in Batman and Robin as Robin. Chris McDonnell.
Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell. And then LL Cool J are the two kind of main characters. And I think NCIS LA could do without them, and could literally go on the strength of Deeks and Kenzie and then the backup tech team.
Fair. It's a bold statement.
But I don't think many NCIS LA fans out there would disagree with it.
That's fair as well. Then I'll give it a watch just to see.
I think it's interesting, because if you watch season 1, Deeks doesn't appear until halfway through season 1, and it's clear that what they've done is they've gone, it's not working. and then they remove one of the characters and bring Deeks in instead, and at that point the show just kicks.
Okay.
And he literally transforms the entire show, because they're all kind of undercover NCIS operatives, and then he gets brought in as an LA detective, so he's brought in as the kind of police liaison to them, and then he starts going on all the undercover stuff as well, and it's brilliant.
I've just realised that we've messed up the alphabet. There's an L that we forgot about.
What did we forget?
We forgot Lucifer.
Oh, of course we did. Jesus, and wasn't that fucking amazing?
This entire series has been really good. I'm glad I got the extra episodes.
Well, I'm gutted that we didn't get the extra episodes, because there's an extra 4.
Is there?
Yes. So originally there was supposed to be a full run of 22.
It's a longer season than last season, though.
Oh, it's much longer than last season, but we were supposed to get a full 22, and what we got is 18, and the extra 4 are a standalone story, and they've held those back to next season.
Ah, well, that's kind of upsetting.
And yeah, indeed, because it's been utterly phenomenal. I think, bringing Trisha Helfer in, and that whole plot line with the mum, it's been utterly amazing, and you've just seen some real character development, especially in terms of some of the secondary characters like Maze and the Doctor have just been phenomenal.
There's been a lot of great episodes. I was glad that they went slightly differently with Trisha Helfer and playing his mum, because you obviously have an expectation when you see her on screen because of
BSG.
Her playing as Silent in BSG. But she wasn't as overtly evil or as scheming as one would have expected. I mean, she was scheming, but it just wasn't in your face constant all the time, and there was an element of humour to it, and actually an element of trying to do what was best for Lucifer in her eyes as well.
And I think that was the thing, is that she genuinely thought she was doing the right thing for him.
Yeah. I thought it made for great tension and drama, especially with her machinations towards Chloe. I thought it was a great season. I mean, that's one of my go-to shows.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, but we loved it so much that we forgot about it on our alphabetical run-through. I want to see what happens. Well, now I want to see what happens in that 4-episode standalone story, but I want to see what happens next season, because obviously, Trisha Helfer's character is no longer possessed by Lucifer's mom.
Indeed.
And there's going to be some explaining to do.
Yep, there is indeed.
But yeah, I've got a couple of days off this week, so I'm going to get out all my Lucifer comics and just read through them, just to help fill that hole that the end of the season has left in me.
No, fair. Then I suggest you go back and read Seasons of Mists.
Yeah?
Yeah, okay. Hell yeah, Sandman.
Yeah. I've dig those out from somewhere too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here and a lot of stuff in storage at my folks, so it's working out which is in which box.
Yeah, you just got to read Season of Mists, and it's the prequel to how he ended up at Lux.
Yeah, okay. I'll find it and dig it out. I'll find it online if I have to.
Yeah.
Okay, so M and O. Any more N's first of all? I think we've got them all.
I'm sure we've missed a ton, but let's just carry on.
O, anything in there? Not really.
Not that, well, the OA, but I think we've spoken about that before.
Yeah, we've talked about the OA before. And I haven't finished the series of Orange is the New Black, so we can leave it off for now.
Yep.
P. Oh, fuck it.
I might have to.
Is it a bit... Okay, sorry.
No, I'm joking.
It's a urine joke. We're podcasting over Skype today rather than being in the same room, so it's...
They won't know. Don't give that away. Art is a lie.
And I'm definitely not naked either. S. Supernatural.
Supernatural. Okay, well, I guess it's the expected follow-on from Lucifer is Supernatural, as Lucifer is the big deal in this season.
Yeah.
Now,
okay, so I haven't finished this season yet.
Okay, so I'm going to do my best not to spoil it, but still give you a review of the season finale.
Cool, because it is one that I am watching. I am catching up with it.
Yeah.
It's not one that I've given up on just yet.
Okay, so let's just say that the season finale it's a 2-part season finale, and it's 2 completely different season finales that wrap up threads from the entire series so far. So one of the episodes deals with all of the Men of Letters stuff that's been going on all season, and the other one deals with the Building Lucifer plotline that's been going on all season.
Okay.
And they are kind of separate, so it does feel like 2 different season finales right after each other. And again, as I've said earlier about the kind of CW thing, they've opened the door to getting rid of a lot of characters.
Yeah, I think there was an inadvertent spoiler at the UK Games Expo when we were having a cup of tea.
I think there was, so I apologise for that.
That's alright. I kind of figured it was coming at some point.
But yeah, so I think the fates of a lot of the secondary characters are very much in the balance, and so I won't say exactly who or exactly why, but basically it's the first season in a while where we've got to the end of it and neither Sam nor Dean are in trouble.
Okay.
So
yeah, it makes a change.
Yeah, indeed. Normally it's one of them is in dire straits and the other one has to then do something ridiculous to get them back again. But this is the first season where the 2 of them have kind of gone, actually, weirdly, we're alright. It's everybody else that's fucked.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it's been really good. I've enjoyed the Men of Letters plotline a lot. And I would have liked to have just focused on that and left the Lucifer plotline until next season.
Right, yeah, I mean, like, I've got as far as the episode where is it Dean's daughter?
Yeah.
Gets bitten by the werewolf. Actually, no, I think it's the episode after. Is it Mick, the Men of Letters they're working with?
Yep.
That gets shot
Yeah.
by Mr. Tetch.
Yes, indeed.
That's the last episode I saw. I think.
Yeah. It gets a lot darker from there.
Okay, yeah.
The whole Men of Letters thing gets a lot darker, involving the Winchester's mum.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was probably going to head that direction.
Mm.
Okay, that's cool. I'll catch up with that, and you'll probably get a text from me at some point in the next week going, "Oh my fucking god!"
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's fair then. Okay, then here's one that we were picking up before the season started, but I'm not sure either of us watched too many of it in the end. Son of Zorn.
Well, yeah, indeed. I think I watched the first 8 or 9, I think.
I didn't make it past 2, mate.
Yeah, I think I watched 8 or 9, and then I finally just lost interest. At the point when they revealed that Elengulon was half animated, that was the point where I just gave up.
Okay, yeah, no, like, I had such high hopes for that show.
Mm.
But it's been cancelled.
Yeah, indeed. It is gone.
Yep, it's gone.
Probably for the best.
Oh, definitely for the best, I would have thought. And that's all the ones that are really jumping out at me. Okay,
well, as we're at the very end of the alphabet, then let's talk Twin Peaks.
There we go. I thought I'd feed you into that one.
Now, obviously, you said you've not watched the original.
I've not, no.
I think it's one you should watch. It depends how far you want to disappear into kind of David Lynch's mind.
I'm quite happy to do that.
Have you watched much other David Lynch stuff?
Yeah, I think I watched a couple of his films. He did Blue Velvet, right?
Yeah, Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, a few others like that.
Yeah, I think I've seen... Did he do Wild at Heart?
Yeah, and Dune, obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, I've seen a few David Lynch films.
Okay.
Definitely.
So, I mean, a lot of the same kind of themes come back, but so to give you a potted history of Twin Peaks, it is the first 2 seasons, well, the first season and a half is about the murder of the homecoming queen Laura Palmer in a small town called Twin Peaks. That an FBI agent played by Carl MacLachlan turns up to try and help solve, because it fits the pattern of some other murders that he's been investigating around the country. So it's kind of X-Files-y and a standard kind of murder mystery thing that just has a bit of a quirky sense of humour and some weird characters in it in small town America. And then in season 2, you eventually find out who murdered Laura Palmer, and then the whole thing goes batshit crazy. And then you have 12 episodes after that just go utterly insane, and then it starts going on about spirits in the woods and alien encounters and people disappearing and tattoos and talking logs and all sorts of weird shit, dancing dwarves and one-armed men, and then weird kind of semi-spiritual realms that exist in the forest lands of North America. So it's a bit odd.
I mean, to be fair, that's all I've ever heard about the show, is that it's a bit odd. I did see the first episode, but it was a very long time ago now that I saw that. So I couldn't pick a scene of it out of a lineup.
Yeah, so it kind of gets more and more interesting as time goes on, and you start realising it's all actually about a kind of battle of good and evil versus these 2 places, which is the White and Black Lodge, and the various denizens within them. And then it's about humanity being caught up in the middle of that struggle. And then it ends on a very, very weird cliffhanger. And then several years after the end of season 2, they released Fire Walk With Me, which is the film that is about the death of Laura Palmer.
It's also the influence for tonight's title.
Yeah, indeed, Fire Walk With Me. And that not only goes through a load of stuff that we already knew, and builds up to the murder of Laura Palmer, but also jumps to the end of season 2 and answers a couple of questions there as well. And then it disappeared. And then 25 years later, it's back. And it's back for another season. And weirdly, it fits entirely, because in one of the early episodes of season 2, you see, or even in season 1, I think it is, there's a scene with Cooper and Laura Palmer sat talking to each other in the Black Lodge. And she says, "I'll see you again in 25 years, and Cooper is looking older." And then we jump 25 years later, and the season starts with an older Cooper in the Black Lodge talking to an older Laura Palmer.
Oh, that's pretty clever.
I think it's either the most genius bit of art I've ever seen, or it's one of those, we can do this and get away with it now. And I'm yet to understand which one of those it is.
Okay, fair enough.
Because
it's one of those.
I'm now 8 episodes into the new season, and I think the best 2 terms I can think of to describe it are batshit crazy.
Okay.
And it seems to be confirming a lot of the thoughts I had about the original series back in the 90s when it was on, but it's now being done with a budget.
Is it everything you hoped it would be, though?
It's a bit slower than I hoped it would be, but then again, that's David Lynch's style. You know,
Yeah.
The episode I just watched, episode 8, has a 20-minute long sequence in which there is no dialogue whatsoever, and there is an atomic explosion, and it goes it kind of zooms right inside an atomic explosion and a whole lot of other stuff happens. Then it disappears off into another realm and there's a whole bunch of other characters that do stuff. And that goes on for good 25-30 minutes. And there's no dialogue whatsoever. So
that's a director who is very comfortable and very confident in his ability.
Absolutely. Very much so. So it's one of those that, it's not easy watching.
Is it kind of one of those shows where you're watching it and you're like, I don't think I'm clever enough to quite understand what he's trying to say here?
I think I'm getting most of it, and I think I've got some very good ideas on what the things are that have happened. I just think it's actually a little bit too slow even for that.
Even for him. Okay, that's fair.
So I'm getting it all. I just think that it's still a little bit slow. But I think that's the danger that you fall into when you come back and you do a show that's so revered 25 years later and you make what he has dubbed an 18-hour movie.
I guess as well, he wants to take his time to make sure he doesn't fuck it up.
Well, yeah, but then again, I think that there's a lot of overindulgence in it.
He's waited 25 years, I think you can give him that.
Well, no,
Surely.
I can totally give him that, but, I think as a piece of art, I think it's standing out. As a piece of TV that's there to generate an audience and hold its attention, I don't think it works.
Ah, okay. So do you think it's suffering because of the times we live in?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think it kind of goes to a conversation that we've had several times about Netflix shows where they have 12 hours to tell a story, but they could have told it in 8. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think it's just that little bit of overindulgence. And again, I'm not going to question him on it because it's his artistic vision and it's what he wants to do. And it depends whether he wants people to understand what he's doing, whether he wants a bigger audience to watch what he's doing, or he just doesn't give a shit and he's doing it because he can.
I'm going to assume it's a lot of the latter.
Yeah, I would imagine so, and fair play to him. Yeah. So I'm enjoying it. It's interesting. There are things in it that are surprising me. I would never have believed in the restorative powers of 9 Inch Nails quite as much as I do now. Someone gets killed, 9 Inch Nails come on stage, and then suddenly they're back up and alive again.
Amazing.
I know, right? Trent Reznor, bringing people back from the dead.
That's on Netflix as well, right?
Actually, I don't know who's screening that. It might be Amazon. It might be Sky Atlantic.
I'll try and find it. I have it on one of my systems.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. But I've actually been re-watching the original series at the same time. And so, did I explain about the missing pieces bit?
Nope.
Okay, so I've just discovered about the existence of Fire Walk With Me, The Missing Pieces, which is an hour and a half of deleted scenes from the Fire Walk With Me film. And it includes a whole bunch of alternate takes and deleted scenes, which seem to be a whole bunch of extra answers to things that happen post-season 2, despite the fact that the film happens pre-season 1. So there's a whole load of weird, timey-wimey stuff that goes on with the Black Lodge, but I'm kind of very, very interested to watch when I'm finished. I've got 4 episodes left now of season 2. Then I'll watch Fire Walk With Me. Then I'll watch The Missing Pieces. And hopefully that will have a whole bunch of extra answers. Because having gone back and watched season 1 and season 2 again, it's made me understand what's happening in this new series a hell of a lot more.
Okay. This feels like it's stating the obvious, but this feels like a very involved series, like a very involved show.
It really is, but it's one of those shows that it starts out with what seems to be the most simple premise, which is someone is murdered. Who did it?
Yeah.
And then it evolves into something entirely different. You know, the fact that David Bowie turns up in Fire Walk with Me as a character should say a lot.
I guess that's why it's got such a cult following.
Yeah, definitely. And why I think that, you know, when it was announced that it was coming back again, then every man and his dog wanted to be in it.
Yeah.
You know, there's some stunning performances. In episode 1, you got Matthew Lillard turning in a performance that's unlike anything I've ever seen from him.
I haven't seen that guy in anything for so long.
I know, it's been a very long... The last time I saw him was as Shaggy in a Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah.
And now he's turned up as a possessed serial killer. And his performance is stunning.
I'll definitely have to check this out.
Yeah,
I found myself saying that quite a lot with you. You're like, this show's awesome. I've never seen it. And you talk about it, and I'm like, okay, I need to watch. I need to watch everything about this show now.
Yeah,
like,
and to be honest, with Twin Peaks, you do, and I would wholeheartedly say go and watch fucking everything. I've got I have a list of the order you should watch stuff. There's an expanded US pilot you should watch. Then watch episode 1, then watch all the rest of it, then watch season 2, then watch Fire Walk with Me, then watch the missing pieces, then watch the new stuff. And there's still 12 episodes of the new season to go.
Amazing. Alright, it's going to be a long old summer.
Yeah, but yeah, do it. It's totally worth it, because it's a challenging show.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best thing about it. And I think going back and re-watching the kind of 90s show, you can kind of see it happening. You see it starts out, and they've obviously pitched an idea to the network, and the network have bought into it, and then they've kind of gone, now let's have some fun, and then started pushing the boundaries on it. And it's genius.
Awesome.
You will get sick of the soundtrack, though, I'll tell you that much. They overuse the main themes so fucking much during the TV show, it's not even funny.
Okay, well, I'll bear that in mind when it comes to watching it.
Yeah. And it's no wonder it was kind of burned into my brain as a teenager, and was probably one of the first things I learned on the piano.
Cool. Any other network shows that we've missed?
I'm sure there are tons, but I think we're about done.
Okay, so there's some Netflix shows then. I recently binge watched all of Riverdale, which I think has actually been serialised on the CW. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it is a CW show, and it is due back for a second season, in which Sabrina Spellman will be turning up.
Amazing. Like, I wasn't sure what to expect from the show. I'd heard that it was a modern take on the Archie comics.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you read any of the Archie books?
Not for a very, very long time.
Okay.
But yeah. The first episode was alright. I didn't immediately rush to episode 2. But then when I did get around to episode 2, I kind of binged the entire series in a couple of days. And I really, really enjoyed it. I thought there were some great performances in there. I thought some of the characters were fantastic. I really liked Cheryl. She just screamed bitch queen all the way through, but there's this other side to her, which the audience gets to see, but what she shields carefully from the other characters in the show. And I thought the bit in the finale where Archie is punching through the ice to try and save her from drowning was probably one of the best scenes in the entire series.
Okay.
One of the strongest things I've seen on TV, well, on Netflix at the moment. Yeah. I mean, it was cheesy in places. I liked that it stayed true to the idea of the comics in some places. Like, it had the Pussycats in the Josie and the Pussycats were there. Every character was represented. Yeah, and I found it to be quite an involving watch once I'd got over the first couple of episodes.
Okay.
But it left me wanting more, which I think is the best thing I can say about any series, really.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the other series that I binge watched the day it was released, so this is last Friday, was Glow.
Yay! Gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
I've been waiting for this show for a while. One,
I bet you have.
I love Alison Brie. 2, because I love Betty Gilpin. And 3, because I love wrestling.
Yeah, it's totally up your alley.
And it was fantastic. I hate to say it, but I didn't like Alison Brie's character Ruth for the first couple of episodes. I just couldn't get on with it. I found her grating. But as soon as Ruth, her character, discovers who her wrestling persona is, she becomes much more bearable to watch. And I just loved the show. I loved the things it tackled. I loved the way it used an 80s lens to cast a light on contemporary issues with regards to gender inequality, and actually, much more importantly, Planned Parenthood in the States. There are some scenes in there which, I'm not going to give anything away, but decisions are made by certain characters, and you're either going to respect them or you're not. And you'll see the bravery in those characters at that time. It's very much set up for a second series, which I think has already been commissioned. But yeah, it's good. I mean, the wrestling fan in me was playing Spot the Cameo, because there's a couple of cameos in there. I mean, John Morrison's in there as a trainer. Brodus Clay's in there. So yeah, it's worth a watch. It's a really engaging show. I really enjoyed it, and cool. I can't wait for more.
Excellent. No, that is on my watch list. I will get around to that one.
Cool. And then you saw Travellers.
I did, yeah. Travellers is an interesting one. It was recommended to me by someone, I can't remember who, but it's an interesting kind of 12 Monkeys time travel-y type of concept where people from the future, where everything has gone wrong in the future, determine the point of death of a person and then send someone from the future in to take over that person's life at the point where they were supposed to die.
Yeah. I saw the first episode, saw the pilot just before we recorded actually today. Story-wise, I found it interesting. It kind of felt a little bit like, I don't know why, but I got some weird Dirk Gently vibes off it. But like Dirk Gently taking itself super, super seriously. Yeah. With a splash of Sense8. The characters are interesting. I want to know more about them, which is good. There are some sound issues. Okay. I'm not a massive fan of the sound mixing on the show. Everything feels a little distant, and the speech doesn't feel quite right. I mean, it's definitely synced in terms of hitting lip sync points for the ADR, but it doesn't feel like it's quite in the same space as the actor. Okay. But that's just, well, you know me and my background. It's me being super picky about audio and stuff that I watch.
I mean, I guess it's interesting to hear you say what you said about the characterizations, because I guess my thing is don't get too attached to any of the characters, because the way the show happens, they kind of reboot them.
Okay.
So it's a bit weird, and then you have to deal with the repercussions of all the other characters having to deal with a rebooted character.
Okay. So I'm guessing that like another host can jump into a previous host's body.
I'm not going to give you any plot details, but it's just that so it's a bit odd. And then there are some kind of spooky bits around using children to deliver messages through time. But it's all Brad Wright, who was one of the Stargate TV show, Stargate SG-1 and Atlantis. And you can kind of see that from the alumni of actors and actresses in it, and even directors. So Amanda Tapping comes in and directs a few episodes. And
awesome.
it's like half the cast of Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe turn up.
Does Robert Carlyle turn up?
No, sadly not Robert Carlyle. No, sadly, I think he was a bit busy with Once Upon a Time.
Oh, yeah, he would have been, wouldn't he? That's true.
But you get the commander from Stargate Universe turns up.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll do. I mean, he's no Begbie, but fair
No,
enough.
indeed. But no, it's an interesting premise, and I think it starts getting to the point where they start changing the future later in the season, and then things start changing their missions. So yeah, I really enjoyed season 1, and again, I can't wait for more.
Cool. Well, I think that's like I said, that's the most glowing thing you can say about a show. I think.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's just about it for television.
I would say so.
I think we've done that. I'm looking at the timer now. That's quite a lot of television covered.
We've done an hour of TV.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to quickly do a movie review.
Yeah, carry on, sir.
I went to see Gifted a couple of weeks back. It's the new Chris Evans film, and I found it to be thoroughly, thoroughly charming. It's kind of slipped under the radar.
I've never heard of it.
Okay, so Chris Evans plays the guardian of a young girl who he's homeschooled for the first 9 years of her life before he sends her off to school, where it's discovered that she's gifted mathematically. She's a maths genius, and interference from a well-meaning head teacher causes the girl's grandmother to come along, played by Lindsay Duncan, played formidably well by Lindsay Duncan as well. Chris Evans is the girl's uncle, not her father, and his sister died and left the child with him. But now that she's turned out to be this maths prodigy, her grandmother has come back, hoping that she can get custody of her and have the girl finish her dead daughter's work. Well, the girl's mother, Lindsay Duncan's daughter's work.
Yeah.
She was a maths professor working on one of the Millennium Problems, and she committed suicide before she finished it. So she's hoping that her legacy can be continued through the granddaughter. So it's one of those films. It's a fairly simple plot line, it's a struggle for custody between the current guardian who's giving her a life outside of her gift and letting her be normal and have friends and experience what it is to be a child, versus the one who wants to live vicariously through the girl's gifts to reach her own professional ends. And usually these stories are rather trite, they're rather contrived, and they live or die based on the chemistry between the actors. Unfortunately, in Gifted's case, that chemistry is just amazing. It jumps off the screen. The interplay between the young actress who plays Chris Evans' niece and Chris Evans himself is fantastic. There are some genuinely heart-rendering sort of emotional moments which you wouldn't get if you don't have that connection or that chemistry. So it works really well. I mean, it's not getting much notice because it's kind of snuck under the radar amongst some blockbusters. And I know that none of my local cinemas are showing it, so I had to travel quite a way to go and watch it. But it was worth it, and I'd do it again. In fact, the cinema that I went to is now my new favourite cinema. I'm happy to drive for half an hour on the motorway to get to a new cinema. But yeah, it's worth checking out. Once it comes out on video or DVD, I'll make sure to spam it around.
Cool, do so.
Yeah. And then, that's the review.
Awesome.
I think I give it it's a B+, so that's an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome.
Do we want to tackle the Star Wars thing now?
I think we've probably run out of time for this week, dude.
Yeah, no worries. So next episode, if you remember, we will briefly delve into what I'm sure is an ongoing saga on the Han Solo standalone film. More details will come out in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure.
I'm sure we'll have more to talk about next time.
Yeah. I'll also be watching Baby Driver and The House this week, so there'll be film reviews for those in the next episode.
I will have watched more Twin Peaks, so I can always rant more about that.
And I'm sure there'll be stuff happening between now and then.
And of course Preacher, because we didn't get around to talking about Preacher, and that's back and it's phenomenal.
And we might even have a Spider-Man couple of weeks. No, maybe not. Not Spider-Man yet, I don't think. But
not quite.
I think
unless you're planning on bringing one on the show.
No, I'm wondering when the premiere for that's going to be.
I'm not sure.
It's probably going to be after we record next. But anyway,
more than likely,
we will have plenty for you to tune in for next time out. But until then, thanks for listening. I've been Brendan.
I've been Spindles.
And until next time, take care and be excellent to each other.